Hey everybody, welcome back to 5 Digit Films, the channel for all things amputee. So as you may have guessed, I've got some big news today. I don't know if the title was a giveaway or not, but I have passed my driving portion of my CDL testing. So I'm going to have some information on that for you guys, but first I wanted to make an amendment to my previous video filling out the skills performance evaluation application. So I think, if I remember right, on the section where I got to the job application portion of the SPE application, I said that I left it blank. Well, come to find out, I just kind of grazed over that because I read across the top application for employment and I'm not applying anywhere, or at the time I wasn't. So I just went right over that section, but there's actually information on there that you have to fill out. So you have to, in the very first box, it says the company name. I just put NA there. And then it wants your date of birth, your address, your social security number. And then below that, it wants to know your driver qualifications. So I just put my my regular driver's license. And then the next section is your history. And again, for me, since I had no previous commercial driving history, I left that blank. But then at the bottom, there's two little check boxes that you need to check off. So when you fill out that application, make sure that you actually you read through the driver application, the job application, and make sure you fill out everything that pertains to you. So now getting into the main portion of this video, it's been a long time since I've made a video for you guys. In fact, it's probably been a couple months at this point. But there have been some developments in my life that have prevented me from making any videos lately. Most are good, but there's been one really bad thing that has happened. So if you watch Area 52, you've probably seen me hint that I'm working on some other videos there as I can, and I've got some big things going on there. One of which I'm going to go ahead and let you guys in on it is I bought a piece of land. So a couple months ago, I bought a piece of property, and right now I'm working on developing that piece of property. It has been very time consuming, and I'm working on getting videos put together for that as well. So that's been taking up a lot of my time, and going through that process has been taking up a lot of my time. However, it hasn't necessarily stopped me from filming. But being so busy and being in transition, it has really slowed me down from publishing the videos. The other thing, as you may see on that channel, is I bought another project truck, and it's one that I'm pretty excited about. So if you want to find out about that, I'll be making some videos on that here before too long. And then obviously I've been going through the process of getting my CDL. I've been working on it since November. It's now April. It's been a long process, but I finally have it done. And now for the bad thing. About a month ago now, my dad passed away. And that, combined with everything else going on in my life, has put a halt to YouTube for me. I'm trying to still keep it going and shoot video when I can, but as far as publishing goes, I haven't been able to do anything. My dad succumbed to cancer. He fought a hard battle for about 6 years, I think, and he got pretty sick this last round. It moved into his brain and it took him from us. So that's been really hard, and that makes today's video a little bit bittersweet. So anyway, where I left off, the last video I made was my SPE application process. So I sent that in, and I sent it by mail, so it took a few days to get to the FMCSA. And then once they received it, which I called them and emailed them about every other day, and that's something you're going to have to do. You want to keep on them and make sure you get that SPE training certificate so that you can go to the BMV and get your permit. So they sent that back to me. And then here's something that my fellow amputees who are trying to get their CDL, this is something you got to be mindful of. The people at the BMV don't know a thing about amputees getting their CDL. It's not something they deal with every day. I mean, you can't blame them for it. So what's going to happen is you will receive your SPE training certificate in the mail. After that, you're going to go to the BMV, and what you're going to do is you're going to tell them to fax that down to your state's CDL department, which is probably in the capital city. So for me, I live in Indiana. I had to go to the BMV, and I had to tell them to send that SPE training certificate down to Indianapolis to the CDL department. At that point, they review it. Of course, at the same time, you have to send in your DOT physical as well. So you're going to go to the BMV with the DOT physical and the SPE training certificate that you got in the mail. You're going to have the BMV fax that to probably your capital city in your state to the to the CDL division, and then they will review it. Unlike whole-bodied people who can just walk into the BMV with their DOT physical and get their permit that day, us amputees, we have to wait about 48 hours for processing, and then you can go back to your BMV and get your permit. So once I did that, which it wasn't too hard because I knew kind of what I needed to do. But once I did that, then as long as I had a Class A CDL holder in the passenger seat, I could drive a truck. Before I lost my hand, I would have been more comfortable with just going and taking my driving test, but I kind of wanted to get used to it with my prosthetic. So here are a couple video clips for you guys of me doing a little bit of training. I drove with my buddy William, who has his own truck, and he was very gracious in letting me basically chauffeur him around on his loads. I mean, that's a pretty big ass. Semis are expensive. So to say, hey, can I just, drive your truck around a little bit? Like, that's a big deal for somebody to let you do that. And if you have somebody that will let you do that, that is one awesome person. So as you saw in that video clip, I was getting pretty used to it. It was I think it's a 99 International i9000 Pro Sleeper. It has a Caterpillar engine, about 600 horse, 13-speed transmission. And in that particular video, we were pulling a hopper bottom hauling grain. But also there's this trailer that we pull. It's a 53-foot spread axle livestock trailer, and we haul pigs from farms to Tyson. So I probably put on maybe, I would say probably pretty close to 2,000 miles driving with William. We ran a lot of loads together. So finally I got to a point, I was back in the livestock trailer into the chutes and loading and unloading the trailer, and I felt pretty confident in my ability. I made a knuckle buster knob or a spinner knob, whatever you want to call it, to try to aid in my driving. That made a really big difference, but I didn't do that until after I met with the Indiana State CDL test administrator. And he told me that one of the things that is going to be required of me on my driving test is I need to be able to use my prosthetic to make a full revolution of the steering wheel clockwise and counterclockwise. And about the only way you can do that is using a spinner knob and my hook. So I went ahead and I fashioned a spinner knob. So here's a little video clip of me putting that together and using it. I met with the state CDL test administrator this morning and went over some things that I was going to have to be aware of, I guess, for my SPE driving exam. And one of the things that we came across was that with my prosthesis, I need to be able to make a full revolution to the right and to the left with my prosthesis. So he suggested I get a spinner knob, which I had one with me at the testing site where I met him. But the problem was the one I bought, the mounting hardware that came with it, wouldn't fit the steering wheel on the truck. So I'm now at the farm store in Peru, family farm and home. Oh yeah. And I have rigged up a method that I think will work. So what we have here, I wanted to come up with a more universal methodology. So I bought a U-bolt and I've padded it with double-sided tape so it won't tear up my steering wheel. And then I spaced it out a little bit with nuts and washers so that there wasn't a huge tail of the U-bolt sticking out there, which would then inhibit my hook. So we're going to go for a drive now in my Silverado and see how well this works. And then tomorrow I'm scheduled to go driving in the semi again with my buddy, and we're going to put it in his truck and see how it works there too. So here goes nothing, I guess. I drove down the street off camera. I was actually I'm recording for Snapchat and for YouTube at the same time. So I had a successful trip just up the block to this Casey's gas station, and it worked really well. So now I'm going to show you guys me leaving this gas station, as in backing out. Oh, looks like I got a text. Sorry about that. I'm going to show you guys leaving this gas station. So I'll be backing out of my parking spot and then maneuvering through the parking lot, getting out to the road, turning out onto the road, operating my turn signal. So you guys get to see all of that. And I'm excited to show you. Like, I'm really wishing I had done this 2 years ago. because this is so much easier. So if you're hard-headed like me and you're missing a hand and you don't put a spinner knob or a knuckle buster knob or steering wheel knob, whatever you want to call it, on your steering wheel, just do it. It'll make your life so much easier. Like, I wish I wasn't so hard-headed, because this is the way to go. This is the move for sure. So here we go. I'll put the truck in drive, or reverse, I guess. Whoops. Check our backup camera. Doesn't look like anybody's around, so let's go. Put the truck in drive. And away we go. Obviously, I'm filming with my right hand, so I'm not assisting myself whatsoever. This is all prosthetic. And we're going to go through town. So then I have to be able to let go, turn on my turn signal, grip it again, and away we go. Preferably before traffic gets here. The next step in the process was taking my driving skills test, the regular test like everybody else would have to take. I went up to commercial testing site in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I took a 4-hour training course followed by my actual test. So I showed up that day, kind of went over everything, but in preparation, one of the things I was most concerned about was my pre-trip inspection. And that is a big one. That'll get people. I felt confident in the driving because I'd done a fair amount of it. But the pre-trip inspection, there's a lot of things that you have to remember and you have to say right. So I am putting a link down below in the description for the YouTube video that I used for training purposes. Now, it's not 100% spot on, but I feel like if you say everything word for word as the guy does in that video, you're going to have a pretty good shot at passing your pre-trip inspection. So I did my pre-trip inspection. Well, after I did my 4 hours of training, we went through the pre-trip inspection, we went through the yard skills, and we went through the city driving. Then it came time for me to take my test. And I passed my pre-trip inspection flawlessly. I aced it. And then I did my yard skills, and for that I had to back up in a straight line. I had to back up offset to my passenger side, and then I had to back up and parallel park to my passenger side. And I did the first two maneuvers flawlessly, but then when I parallel parked, I bumped into one cone in the very back, costing me 2 points. I forget how many exactly you're allowed, but basically what he told me was, you can run over every one of the cones in the stopping box, and as long as you stop in between the lines, you're going to pass. So I did well there. And then the final part was the city driving test. There were a couple little things that I probably could have done better, but here's one thing. They want you to double clutch. Well, I knew how to do that, and I was doing it pretty well. So I went ahead and double clutched. If you don't double clutch, it'll cost you 10 points. So I went ahead and I knocked that out. I did my driving test accumulating 11 points out of 30 possible. Mind you, accumulating points is not something you want to do. A perfect score is 0. So I kind of wanted to do better than that, but I asked the instructor, I said, so what's kind of the average? He said, well, most guys don't double clutch, so that automatically gives them 10 points. He said, so they're around 20 points plus or minus 5. He said, so you did extremely well on the test. So I was very happy about that. So after that, I had to call Jeff, the Indiana State CDL test administrator, and set up a time for him and I to do the SPE driving test, the skills performance evaluation for amputees. And we set that up for about a week and a half after I passed my regular skills test, my CDL skills test. So I showed up to that. Now, it's the exact same test as your regular skills test, and you can actually take it before or after your regular skills test. It doesn't really matter. I didn't know that, so I was kind of surprised. After doing it, I would suggest doing your regular skills test first and then your SPE test, but that's completely up to you. The other thing about it is your regular skills test, you only have to do everything one time. For your SPE test, you have to do your pre-trip inspection, you have to do your yard skills, and then you go and do your city driving, but you do that driving test twice. So what their thoughts are is they take the average score from those two driving periods. So you go run the course through town, you come back, wait a couple minutes, and then you take off and go do the exact same course all over again. So their idea is they take the average of the two scores, and that becomes your score, hoping that you'll do a little bit better. The other difference is going to be that they're not necessarily testing you on your knowledge. They're testing you on your physical ability, like being able to work the controls on, in my case, I'm missing my left hand, so they want to be able to see me work the controls on the left side of the steering wheel with my prosthetic. They want to see me turn the steering wheel with my prosthetic. So things of that nature. So they are concerned, like when you do your pre-trip, they are concerned that you know what you're checking, but they want to make sure that you can actually check those items with your prosthetic. You're not necessarily going to be checking it, but like opening the hood, they want to see that you're physically able to open the hood. They want to be able to see that you can hook up the air lines and electrical lines on the trailer. They want to be able to see that you can pull the locking mechanism on the fifth wheel. They want to see that you can put the landing gear up and down, and they will actually have you do that and disconnect the trailer. So I actually took my first SPE test on Wednesday, and I failed. And I was very upset by this. So the reason I failed was I performed 3 unsafe maneuvers. I'm not going to go into what they were, but I will just say that I really wanted to argue them because I feel like on my regular skills test, they probably would have let it slide. But for that reason, I failed my test. So now 2 days later, I came back and I passed my test. So I paid closer attention to what I was doing and got through it. I mean, they weren't like major well, okay, I'll tell you what they were. The first thing is I bumped into a curb. The second thing is I had pulled out with a car coming up the road, and they were about a half mile away. But I missed a gear and struggled finding a gear, so by the time they got up behind me, he said the guy had to slam on his brakes, cross into a double yellow, and go around me. That's not really what happened, because I watched it all in my mirrors. He was in a hurry. He had a half mile to see me pull out in front of him. So yes, I was inhibiting traffic and he had to slow down. But it was his choice to pull an illegal move and go around me. And then he jumped off on the off-ramp that I was getting off on. So then the last thing was we were coming back through town, and I didn't hear his direction properly. By the time I did, I realized he wanted me to make a right turn, and I was running out of real estate to do it, so I took the turn a little bit fast. He said that I was going too fast. He wasn't sure if I was going to hit the car waiting in the intersection or if I was going to hit the curb with the trailer. I did neither. So we went through a little bit fast. Yes, I will admit that, but I had complete control of the truck. If I didn't, I would have smoked a car. So obviously I'm still a little bit salty about that, but I took the test again. I had another opportunity. The nice part about it is if you fail one part, you don't have to go do the other parts you passed. So today, all I had to do was the driving test. Instead of having to do the pre-trip inspection and the yard skills, I just had to show up, get in the truck, go do my driving test. So I passed that today. Finally, the last part of the title that you guys saw. I've been able to secure a job. One of the things that has made this really bittersweet for me was losing my dad. My dad was a trucker. He was a police officer during the day and a truck driver at night. Well, growing up, he hauled propane, and then he switched over and he started hauling gas, diesel, and ethanol. And then he moved on to another company hauling mostly bulk diesel. And that is the company he retired from when the cancer got to be too much of an issue. So that company was called EB Transport. And Paul Eby, his previous boss, had come to see him when he was on his deathbed. And Paul was kind of joking around and telling him that my dad needs to get feeling better because he's got a spare truck and needs a driver. And my dad was very weak. He couldn't really talk. So he starts pointing at me. And Paul turns around, and I said, "So you got a spare truck, huh?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I need a job." He said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in the process of getting my CDL right now, and you were the first person that I was going to come to for a job." And he said, "Well, I'm serious. I need a driver." I said, "Well, I'm serious too. I need a job, and I want to come work for you." So he told me, "When you get your CDL, give me a phone call, and we'll get you started." So I'm going to be starting a new job here pretty soon, and I'm very excited about it. My first pick as far as jobs is the one I'm going to be getting, so I'm extremely excited about that. It's a smaller company. I think they've got like 6 or 7 trucks, and I will be hauling bulk diesel mostly around to these larger farms that have bulk diesel tanks. I'll be home every night, and I'll more than likely be home every weekend. Very occasionally, I might have to work like part of a Saturday during like planting season and harvest season. So I've landed a great job. I mean, I'm very fortunate here. Most of the time, a guy getting his CDL isn't going to land in a position like this just right out the gate. So going to have to work hard, learn the ins and outs of fuel hauling. I still do actually have to get my hazmat endorsement, but I've been studying for that. So the day that I go in to get my license switched over, I'll take that test and have that endorsement put on the test, or put on my license as well. So those are the big things, guys. Like I said, I'm sorry it has been a long time, but hopefully things will start calming down a little bit now, and I can start producing more content for you guys. It's been really tough losing my dad, especially. I wanted nothing more than to be able to come home today and say, Dad, I've got a CDL now, because I knew he would be really proud of me. And what I really wanted was for him to see me driving an EB transport truck. So that makes this very tough. You know, I didn't get it done in time for him to be able to see it and for me and him to be able to talk about it. But it is what it is. But anyway, guys, it is bittersweet, but it is a very happy day. I can't wait to start producing more content for you. And I'm sure I'll be showing some more of the ins and outs of being a trucker now and an amputee. If you have any questions or comments on any part of this video, especially if you have questions on being an amputee and getting your CDL, I have done a lot of research. The thing you guys got to remember is if you're trying to get your CDL as an amputee, nobody outside of like the state level CDL department or the FMCSA is going to have any idea about the amputee stuff. Even when you go to take your regular driving test, you have to have more knowledge than them, because they're not going to have any idea how to work with you. So it probably would be a good idea to get a hold of the state CDL testing administrator before you even go to take your regular driving skills test. So that is one thing to remember. Don't expect them to know. You have to know. So do your research. Like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back with you. Usually I respond within a couple days at the latest. So please feel free to ask a question. The whole reason I'm making these videos is to try to help you and educate the masses. So, with that being said, have a great day, everybody. I know I am, and I will see you in the next video.